Welcome, everyone. It's March 30th, 2025. We're all together. We have Seb, Dan, both in LA, and I'm still over in the middle of the Pacific. So today's podcast, we wanted to talk about this now moment that, you can look around the world and you can see all these things happening. I got Kilauea blowing up 100 feet of lava in the air. And the bogs engulfing us. You got 7.7 magnitude earthquakes going off over in Southeast Asia. You have, countless, endless things all happening at once. And you could argue that those things are always happening. But I would argue against that because, they're always happening, but it's not like it's all pulled together into one single event. And I think that's what's happening in this moment. I think there's one single event that is driving all of these things that we see playing out. And we see it playing out on the physical planet. We see it playing out in the emotional integrity of the human kingdom on the planet. You see it playing out in the animal kingdom. You see it playing out, and you can look at any area of this experience that we're having on Earth, and you can see it's all one thing driving this moment. And so I wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to see what that looks like to you too. What does it look like to you?
Well, I never made that connection until you just said it just now, actually, that there are all these things happening, but it is one event. And I knew that was true, but I never actually intellectually realized it until you said it in that moment. And it does. It feels like one moment that's building and building and building. It's almost like you're expecting the next thing to happen, but it feels one thing that's building rather than, oh, this just happened over here and this happened here. Separate events. No, it doesn't. It was like one.
Right.
Okay, hold on. I have a point of view about that. If you look at that one thing that's happening, it looks destructive from your description of it, and Seb agrees. Because you've got, as you said, volcanoes, and God knows what's going to happen over there in Italy, and what's going on in Greece with those volcanoes, because there's a whole lot of those little tiny things called people scattered all over the surface of those areas. And if it's one volcano or 50, it's one eruption, is what you're saying. The planet itself is erupting through 50 different openings in the skin of its surface. So that makes the whole damn thing. And it's causing, indirectly, you can feel a sense of stress. You can feel a sense of fear and anxiety. And you can feel a sense of how that's impacting China, which suffers from the same weather problems. You're causing weird weather patterns. You're causing weird, and that's creating anxiety, fear. That's creating anger, upsetness, insecurity. So in one grand, if we're staying in the now, this is all one now moment, and all of those things are in that now moment, it looks like one giant destructive moment. Because we're not seeing what's causing it. The materialist will tell you, well, the Earth is pushing magma to the surface, and that's why Kilauea is throwing it 200 or 300 feet in the air. That's true. But that's all just part of that event. It's part of the event horizon. It's not the cause of what's doing that to Kilauea. What's making the magma push towards the surface of the Earth? Is there too much magma in the middle, and it's pushing its way out? I mean, how is that happening? So we don't really see the cause, and there's a primary reason for that. So the whole thing looks like a destructive event, even though it will give birth to certain things, like people survive an earthquake, and then their house is gone, their job is gone, so they go somewhere else to begin a new life. And from that point of view, it's like, well, that's going to be new life. But that's different. That's surviving. That's
Mhm.
part of letting things settle down. So if we're going to look at that, and I think we should, because it is, and I agree with you, it is one event. But then from that perspective, the universe is one event. It's all
Yeah.
one thing, doing one thing. And in order for it to be doing it in the eternal now, we have to have a way in which time can be included in that concept. Because we know that the impact that falls upon one part of the universe translates to an impact perhaps on some other part of the universe, clear on the other side, we don't know for sure, but not necessarily spontaneously in that same instant. And the eternal now looks like you're forcing everything to be in an instant. But we don't know how long an instant is on a cosmic scale. Like a moment. What's a moment? How long is a moment? A moment is the least amount of movement that any one thing can take and still change and not be the same. That's what a moment is. And so a moment for an atom is really a tiny amount of movement. But a moment for a planetary being or a human being might be longer. So there's a confusion in our intellect about all of this now thing. And so we can look at that and look at how now includes past, present, and future as aspects of itself. And that what it does is it incorporates past, present, and future in duration. Duration is a different type of activity than time. It doesn't seem like it because duration, if you look at a definition of it, is how long it takes for something to happen, or how long, if you have an explosion, the duration of the explosion is how long it is before the vibrations of it settle down. And so it takes a movement in mind, our mind, the mind of the observer, into the eternal now. You have to step into and embrace that concept as something you want to experience in yourself so that you can see how that works. How does that make sense? How is it perfect? How do you all of a sudden see, oh, that's how time works. That's what past, present, and future as a simultaneous activity means. And that's how it relates to all others. And that makes perfect sense. Now, if you have a little bit of faith in that idea that I just espoused of past, present, and future as a single event in the eternal now, and you step into the eternal now and try to put that on, if you do it with integrity and not doubting it to begin with, you'll almost feel it. You'll almost feel how it settles around you, and you will actually know, somehow that it's true. It is actually there, but you don't observe it. So you're caught in that space where you go, you know what? I think I actually sense this past, present, future moment around me in the duration that makes it occur and the rightness that takes it out of time and into eternal now as the same moment the whole universe is in. But I can't quite realize it. I don't get the sense of, wow, that's perfect, which is right there available for you. Now, it's really important to gather yourself up and let that happen for you. And if you can let that happen for you while we're talking about it, or anytime you look at the world, you will sense its presence. And I will tell you why it isn't happening for you, but that doesn't fix it for you.
Mhm.
It's not happening for you if it's not happening because of your brain. Your brain is processing events of your senses as sequential events because that's how brains work. It's like asking your digital watch to show you time in the eternal now. It's processing digitally. It's processing moment to moment to moment through chemistry. The brain works through chemistry. Chemistry is matter. Matter activating, energizing, decaying, and relating. So an image of your eye registered in the nervous system and imprinted on the brain is that. And the next millisecond or moment of your existence, it does another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And the sequential movement of your consciousness through those activities is giving you something that we call time. And the earlier photograph or imprint is earlier time, and the one you're having right now and ongoing is now time. And then there's future time, which is what we're going to imprint on our brain chemically sometime down the road a little bit. So that's tying everything that's going on in you to a chemistry process in your brain, which is fine because that's where we live. We live in a body and it has a brain and it's work. So that's great. So at least we have that reality, which is not a reality because it's a brain chemistry function. Meanwhile, just beyond your reach, out there in the now, in the energy of that universe, is what's really happening. And so just from that description, you have the idea of the possibility that you're operating one step away from reality itself, because it has to wait. It has to wait. How long does it have to wait? Well, not very long, but how long do you wait for the internet to act? Not very long, depending on the speed of your processor, but you're processing it. You're processing an event in the universe. And that event in the universe is immense. And it reflects itself in events on our planet simultaneously, which are affecting us in the form of volcanoes like Kilauea and all other events that are happening as a simultaneous moment in the now. Now you can think to yourself, okay, now I can experience in the limitation of my brain and I can settle for that, which means I'm just acting a little bit behind the actual reality over here happening in the now, and I'm here experiencing it as a reflection in my brain. So that takes me a little bit away from reality, but I'll settle for that because that's the best equipment I've got right now. But inside of you, inside of all of us, is better equipment. Once we blow the dust off it and rattle it around and plug it in and say, okay, let's see if we can take that one final step into now. And then we will not only register, but grasp and understand how the event itself is being created. And in that moment, everything changes, because it's not just a louder bang because you're closer to the explosion. You're stepping into a new dimension in which activity is being carried out by beings who are living there that are causing what appears to us to be that explosion in our universe, in our material world. And in that world, the now is just the common function of everything, of everyone, of every being that lives there, including us. That part of you that already lives there, that soul nature, which has been so cleverly removed from human discussion, except as a vague idea in some religion. You see, it has more than a vague idea in some religion. It has an actual scientific reality in you and in me and in every being. But it's like, remember there was a period of time ago when if you were a physicist and you wanted to discuss nuclear power you were working for Harvard or JPL or somebody, and you're saying, my field is nuclear power. And inside you wake up in the middle of the night and go, you know what it's going to be? We're going to take two atoms and we're going to fuse them together. And that's going to release energy, but not have any of the negative, destructive materials. And that's going to save the human race. If you woke up at 2 a.m. and had that epiphany in your consciousness, of how to do that, you would have discovered fusion power. And if you'd have gone to work tomorrow and started talking about that, you would have been fired the next day. You would never have gotten the job, because within that world, the fission power people, the people like General Electric, the people who are building nuclear power plants out of breaking atoms apart, which is fission, they're like, we will not give any money to anybody doing anything other than scientifically studying how to do that, because that's where our money is. That's where we make money. And we'll endow Harvard, we'll endow JPL, we'll endow you, because it's nothing to them. We'll endow you with $1 billion. $1 billion a year we'll give you, one way or another, to study fission power. And then when some guy stands up and says, oh, I got a better idea, let's do fusion. Because if we do fusion, all that fission's going to go away. And they go, wait a minute. You're talking about our business going away, and we're giving you the money to research it. So no, we don't do that. Meanwhile, they research it in the back room until they get to a place where they want to invest in it. But you see, this kind of shenanigans going on controlled the nuclear industry for years. And physicists who wanted to work in, remember cold fusion? The guys that wanted to do cold fusion were laughed out of town, ridden out of town on a rail. They weren't bad scientists. They were working on a scientific premise. And there's no reason to suppose that they couldn't find a way to do cold fusion. But the hot fusion people said, no, that can't happen. If that happens, we're out of business. So while a right-hearted person would say, well, let's embrace it and see if we can change the world for good, General Electric has got a stock value, and the good for them is that stock value going up, not down. So, and that's what's going on with Tesla, and that's what's going on with the stock market now, and that's what's going on in the world. So all of this is being done. It's been done with religion, and they got rid of spirit, and they got rid of soul. Believe it or not, religion getting rid of spirit and soul sounds like a dumb idea, but they did it. They did it. They only talk about it as if it were a painting on the wall, not as if it were a real part of you. So they do that, and the psychologists and educators got rid of soul around the time of Freud and those guys. They said, look, you want a job at the university, you can have it, but don't talk about soul. Because if you talk about soul, you're out. We're going to throw you out, because we don't want to talk about soul, because they didn't know how personally, and it sounded like religion. So there's no science to it. We don't have any science. Well, we won't have any science if we don't study it and discuss it. No, we don't talk about it. So you see how that works. You see how the past, which is all these universities and all these companies, the past controls the future by not wanting it to be revealed. It isn't even hateful. It's just self-protection. Sometimes it's hateful. So now we're in this spot where the eternal now, and what controls that explosion of the world and volcanoes and all the other negative things happening, what's causing that to happen? If we can go to that level in ourselves, then we can have an opportunity to involve ourselves in the game. How can we mitigate that explosion? How can we act in harmony with it? How can we make it something constructive instead of something destructive? Well, we can't from this point of view, because we're an effect. We're like lemmings jumping off the cliff, but we don't know why. Something inside of us is just telling us, run to the edge of the cliff and leap off. So at this point in time, we're at the cusp of that. And you can decide now in you that you want to know who's the master of the game. Where is this cause coming from? And what's astounding to me, and why I think the way I do and work the way I do, is that the moment you enter that level where the cause is being sent forth, you realize it's being done by love. Not only love, but the spirit of love. It is a completely and wholly positive creation in that environment, by those beings in that environment acting on their self-direction. So if you enter into a world of love, it's like that hums with love, and then you take a look down here where we are, and you see all of these volcanoes going off and there's chaos happening, and you think to yourself, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? Why is that harmony and love and power that's in that world and what those people are doing reflecting itself in this world in such a chaotic and destructive way? Now you're coming down to the problem between what we would think of as the spiritual world, only because it's a level up above where our senses are open. That's the only thing that makes it spiritual. Between the spiritual world and the human material world, you see this great disconnect. But it's not a disconnect. It's a direct result. So what's happening at the place of cause and what's happening at the place of effect? And why do they look so different? And more important than all of the figuring of that out is what can you do about it in your personal life? Because that's where it starts. If you got a volcano going on in Hawaii, that's what concerns you, Taylor. We're over here watching it on the news. The smoke may get this far, but so what? It'll just put a little ash in the sky. When Krakatoa went off in the South Pacific in the 1800s, I think it was 1800s, the ash from that went so high, it went around the world 7 times. They had black snow in Switzerland. So, yeah, your volcano could affect us, but that's about it, some black snow. But you might find yourself scrambling around. So if you can mitigate that by entering into that world of love, that world of cause, and see both sides of that creation. This is creation. That's the world of effect. And there's nothing that says the life of that volcano is not having a good time. I would assume volcano beings, giant fire divas that make up volcanoes, are thrilled to death with an eruption. That's like party time for a being whose life is fire. And rocks are like, oh, it's good for us. We get heated up, and heating up is like our form of petting a cat. So to assume nature around you is not having a good time would be imposing on them things that are probably not true. So what about us? We don't do well in lava. We don't do well in explosive destruction. We need something more managed. And so I'm not even slightly in doubt that the human race can manage its life on this planet in harmony with volcanoes and typhoons and everything else. But we have to understand how. And that means going to the creative side of the eternal now and not into the effect side in matter, which is the opposite of it. It always shows up as opposite. So looking at the larger picture. Now, rather than look puzzled, Seb, because you look slightly puzzled, is that how do you look at that? Now you're at dinner with your friends and they're arguing about diversity and equity and how imposing that on the world through educational systems is a good idea.
Wow.
No, yeah, that's the kind of friends he hangs out with. So
I would have
if you
walked out that conversation, I'm sorry.
Yes, but that's because you are responding to something they're not. And Seb's at sea with it because he likes diversity and equity himself. He actually does. It might be secretly to you and me, but you see, he does. So he has to take their side of the argument. He has to say, okay, look, I agree with you. Diversity and equity are good. They're good things. What he doesn't agree with, not as violently as you, because you have a whole different take on it. What he doesn't agree with is imposing it, which
Correct.
is the mistake that Marx made, by the way, and Lenin, and all of those, Stalin, all the people who tried to make communism something that runs the world. They were impatient with the speed with which the human race grows, which is so fucking slow. We are slow to change. We don't see why we're so slow to change. And that impatience shows itself up everywhere. If you're teaching a kid how to shoot a bow and arrow, you're trying to show him how to pull it back and hold the arrow balance and hold the nock with your fingers and let your fingers relax. And he's jerking it and he's pulling it around and he's waving all over. And you go, no, that's not how you do it. You just want to strangle the little bastard and get him to do it. But it's going to take a lot of time. You got to shoot a lot of arrows to be Robin Hood. And yet, if you look at the YouTube and see what some of these people do with a bow and arrow, it's unbelievable. I mean, literally unbelievable. Yeah. They can do it upside down with their feet and put the arrow through their wedding ring and put out a candle at 50 yards. So it's like, wait a minute, that can't be done. Yes, it can be done. That's what human beings are capable of. So if you can do that, you can do what I'm talking about. You can enter into the eternal now. You can see the love world blazing its reality down towards the material world. You can see the material world responding to it, and you can see your brain responding to what's going on in the material world. And then you look to see your soul responding to what's going on here. And now your challenge is to put the two into your single unified consciousness. Don't worry about spirit. It'll get around to it later. But to put the soul and personality of your nature into a singularity is to put that arrow through the wedding ring. So you can do it. We can all do it. Do it sooner, do it later. And many can do it now. They just have never learned how. And the patience to teach your kids how to do it has to be learned from you by you doing it. So that's where we are in the world's general condition. We see it all going off. We feel the impact on it, but we don't see the now that's causing it. And we don't see that which is causing the now in the spiritual world with love. Well, that's a lot of stuff that we don't see. And yet, even seeing it doesn't put you in control. It doesn't empower you with it unless you not only see it, but agree to it, like by your free will. Then diversity and equity appear automatically and spontaneously by the act of free will and are not being forced on people as with this distorted idea that that's how you teach people. That's how you make people learn, by forcing something on them instead of letting it come up out of the inner self as a desire of experience and expression. That's an old way of teaching. That's a prehistoric way of teaching. You know, do it, and then if they don't do it, slap them.
Yeah.
Do it again. Slap them. Do it again. Slap them. Pretty soon they're groggy, but they'll get that needle threaded the way you wanted them to. And that's all you wanted. You wanted them to be able to sew, and that's how you taught them. Focus. Dial it in. Smack. And that's how we raised kids at a certain point. And it's a system that worked because it forced them to learn how to do something, but not how to be something. But that's what you were teaching, because you don't have time for them to catch up to it. In a world that's exploding around you and causing danger and death and destruction, you've got to teach kids how to survive quickly. You got to teach them how to shoot a gun. You got to teach them how to shoot an arrow. You got to teach them how to run, hide, jump, fly, do all the things you got to do to survive and help your tribe survive. And so we found brutal methods of inflicting lessons on the animal habit so that it would perform in a way that would cause it to survive. Well, that's not exactly the same as love doing it, is it? So maybe we need a better system. Maybe we need a system that works from the inside out. And that's, of course, what Christ showed up and tried to do. He tried to say there's a better teacher inside of you. And if you let it teach you, it won't force you, because your free will is sacred to love. So love won't force you. It'll help you. It'll show you. It'll teach you. It'll give you opportunities. And if you get in harmony with it enough, its powers, its special hidden powers in love, will come into your properties, into your emotional body, into your mental body, into your physical body, and those powers will demonstrate in you.
Well,
You see, that's the promise of love.
I
That's
wanted to
the
ask a
promise of
question
that kingdom. Go
before we
ahead,
get
Taylor.
too far away, because you brought up, this cause and effect, and you brought up fusion, and so I wanted to ask you, how do you create cause and effect to fuse? How do you get that fusion and that perspective in your consciousness so that
Well, if you're going to fuse any
looking at-
two, oh yeah, that's a good question. That's a real question. If you're going to fuse any two things, you have to get hold of each one. You have to find a way to be in possession. Now, what puts you in possession of your left-hand version is different from what puts you in possession of your right-hand version. Your right-hand version, you come into possession of that through free will. This is a will hand, the right hand. And so with it, you can reach down and pick up. Now, you can be left-handed. You can reverse the whole process, but I'm sticking with this left and right for the moment so that you see what I'm talking about. I think, God may be right-handed. We don't know yet. So the point is if you can reach out with this hand and pick up a rock, and then you can whack something with it. So that's a force and an energy and will. You have free will with this hand.
Mm-hmm.
Over here with this hand is a different property. And you have to do something completely different with it to fuse it with this, like that, to create a third result, which is the fusion of the two things. That's what, and in a universe of life, which is infinitely greater than anything we remotely imagine, the fusion of spirit and matter, these two opposites, includes immensity of things in spirit. We don't know everything that's in spirit.
Is that
We don't know everything that's in matter.
Christ consciousness? Would it be the same thing?
Well, they're unspoken. It's what sent it forth in the first place by taking it. Life had to take itself and divide it into two things.
Mm-hmm.
It can't divide anything else because there isn't anything else but life. Right. So it takes itself and separates it into two things, spirit and matter. Now it does that for a third thing, which is its purpose in doing it. Back here is, I'm going to do this. Why? Why are you going to do it? There's nobody to ask that question to, because life is lonely. Life is an orphan. So life says, I'm going to do this. And it divides itself into two for that purpose. Well, the odd thing about it is once it does that, it's cast itself forward into its own experience. It remains here out of the cosmic physical universe completely, but at the same time, it throws itself into it, divided into two. Well, the outcome of reuniting, not the division, that was done by the purpose back here that says, I'm doing this because I want to learn how to build a fire, and I don't know how to make a fire. But if I take my life and I divide it into two things, and over an immense period of time, I bring it back into fusion with itself and give it an opportunity to experience itself somewhere in that mess of coming back together to where I started. Through all the experience of it, I'm going to learn how to make a fire. I'm going to build a fire. Maybe all it was doing. So it does it. Now, if it doesn't work, then it goes back and tries it over again and does something different. But in this case, we're just using it as this is an example. So I'm dividing myself into spirit and matter. And that out here, I'm still doing that. But here in the creation that I created by spirit and matter, I exist only in spirit and matter. But the potential of me having finished my creation, which starts immediately, because remember, this is all going on the eternal now, that same place that we were talking about at the beginning. I exist as the result of the experiment, the result of having separated myself into these two opposites, spirit and matter, and then reuniting them. I produce a third thing, which is the result of why I did it. Why you did it enters into the activity of the reuniting and creates the result, which is the purpose in fact, what the purpose becomes. That thing that is created by the dividing of this into these two, spirit and matter, and then a reuniting of them, becomes the Christ consciousness as we describe it.
And that's the purpose?
No, that's the result of the purpose. It's the result of the purpose and life and the division and the reuniting and the outcome. All of that translates down to what life becomes of itself, that it isn't already out here. You see, out here it's suspended in the question.
So that's what
why
we're up
I'm
against.
doing that. Huh?
Seems like that's what we're up against at this moment.
Well,
is that fusion.
Sure. And you could, because that particular consciousness that's emerging is emerging cosmically. Mm-hmm. It's happening all over the universe. It's not
that's
just happening on
That's
Earth.
why it's happening. Right. That's why.
Because it's one single cosmic event, but a slow burning one from our point of view. It's not now. From our point of view, it's like a long time and a lot of cycles and in and out of things and all that. But when you look at it the way you're looking at it, what's being created here is this Christ consciousness. That's a cosmic emergence of love and light and power and life through the experience into a new birth of itself.
And you're saying that's happening universally, not just...
Oh, no, it's happening all over the universe.
So and
we don't know how... No, we don't even know how much of the universe is already finished. We may be late arrivers. We may be in the middle. We may be at the beginning. I don't know. I think we're probably, maybe 4/5 of the way through the process, personally.
Oh, damn. I like to think of myself as a pioneer.
Oh, well, you are a pioneer on this stupid little planet. Okay. But what you're a pioneer of, I don't think is I think what we're a pioneer of on Earth as humans is something utterly unique in the overall process. That's the mysterious thing about Earth. I think in the overall process, there's a lot of different things going on, arguably, because there's billions of galaxies, maybe trillions in this giant. Yeah, well, it's big. And to think that it isn't, that any of it, not any single atom of it isn't alive is silly. Because there is only life. If life is creating it, even if life divides itself into spirit and matter, the matter is as alive in life as is the spirit. It's just a completely different aspect of life. So it divides itself into these two. And then by fusing these two living parts of its living self back together, it creates a third living self. And that third living self is emerging cosmically, simultaneously, at scale, at the whole level of knowing, wow, this is what we're doing. And yet that self, in relationship to Earth, produced a unique experience for us. Somehow, Earth got into a situation, it's humanity, us, our kingdom. We're a little kingdom on this planet. And we got into a situation of difficulty. We've been in difficulty from the beginning. We've always been a difficult thing. But somehow that which was being created, which is this Christ consciousness of the universe, cosmic Christ consciousness, looks, because it knows itself. It's all one thing to it. So I hit your toe with a hammer. I didn't hit your head with a hammer, but you know damn well in your head that I hit your toe with a hammer. No doubt about it. Even the tiny sliver stuck into your toe, which is why that Aesop fable is such a big deal about the thorn in the tiger's paw and all that stuff. A small part of your whole anatomy knows the moment that there's something wrong anywhere in it, down there in that toe. And so it says, ouch. And so the wholeness of you, not just your brain or your ear or a part of your liver, the wholeness of your consciousness says, ouch, what happened? I felt that. It looks down and it sees the splinter in its toe. And it says, that's a problem. That's a problem. Problem for me, for my wholeness. but we're down here in the toe, and we damn well know it's a problem because volcanoes are going off everywhere, and we're scrambling around trying to survive, and we're saying to the rest of the universe, what the hell, help out here. And so that consciousness decides of its own initiative to do something about that. And it looked at the situation. There's a lot of choices you have if you're that level of a being. And it looked through all those choices, looked through all of its beings that it could support its services, archangels, angels, gods, supreme beings, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, what all of those beings are in the universe, planetary beings, solar beings, cosmic beings. It checked all of that inventory and said, this is more serious than I thought. So that level of expression, that which is being produced by the whole entire impact of spirit and matter coming together through life, the Christ consciousness as the result of that, independent of our planet, probably long before we were even created, says, I got to do something about this. And so what it chose personally, I can't send somebody else to do it. The Buddha's busy, others are busy. Why can't I do that? Because there's something about Earth that is intractable, cannot be violated, cannot be gotten around, and nobody knows what to do about it. And that is free will. That's freedom. Now you, Taylor, have an inordinate amount of response to freedom.
I love it.
I know, but let's not start a revolution just yet.
Okay.
Seb doesn't have the same response to freedom that you do.
Well, he's a Brit. They like the
Yeah.
The Brits are famous for suppressing freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, and in some very unkind ways. Now, they compensated for their suppression of other people's freedom by giving them government, which was the gift they gave themselves. They said, look, you give up free, and they're doing it right now today. Tommy Robinson, the big guy over in England right now, is a big expression of what happens when you take someone's freedom away from them and suppress them and put them in jail, put them in prison, put their life at risk to having their throat cut in the lunch line, just because you don't want their freedom being expressed in the streets over your governmental intentions. So the government takes upon itself the idea that we are in charge of the public's development. We are in charge of how the public interacts, not the public. So we have to control their freedom, thinking they're in control. You see, there's a dynamic there, and it goes back to the opposites, and it's natural to think that way. Now, in America, where Seb migrated over to because of his being offended by that attitude, he's offended by that attitude, which is a quality of his character, that we like that he's offended by it because we're offended by it. Yeah. That doesn't make England bad. It just is a temporary condition of suppression. And it's always been true. If the ruling class in England didn't like what you did, if you were Irish or if you were just an English sort of freeboarder, then they just scooped you up and said you stole a loaf of bread, so we'll send you to Australia for 5 years and make you a slave to some outback ranch of nobility, cheap nobility in England that we give a bunch of land to. And we did that in England, and we did it in Australia, we did it in America, we do it everywhere. We did it in India. You give them a giant chunk of land and you send them a bunch of prisoners and you tell them, work it out. And when you rehabilitate yourself, we'll take you back to England. Maybe. So this is a process of, it's not the worst process in the universe. It's not the one that's the cruelest on earth, but it's a process. In America, we do it a different kind of thing. Don't think we are, every civilization founded since Adam and Eve has been founded upon evil. So there's no good in any of us when it comes to government. But America did this differently. We gave freedom. Freedom became one of our founding altars. And we put freedom ahead of religion. Now in Europe, in the Middle Ages, the religion was ahead of the freedom because we gave that freedom to Christ, who turned it into the Jesuits and the pontiff and said, well, we'll let the church run the religion and tell us what Christ wants us to do. and then we'll just do it. And then that got to be an argument with Henry VIII in England, who said, hey, they got more power than I do, and I don't like that. So he got rid of the church running things and set up the Anglican Church, of which he is the head of. And today, what? King Charles is the head of the Anglican Church. And people don't think about that, but he's the last arbitrator of it, which put the king in charge and put government back in charge of the religion and the people. Nice talking to you, Taylor. So probably one of the kids is hanging the dog or something. You know how that goes. With two boys, they're always up to some mischief. You and I both know that Olivia is not the cause of it. Was that a kid or you or Olivia acting out
me.
Again?
I had to blow my nose.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I sound so nasally in my head.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so all of this comes back around to eternal now.
Which I wanted to say something about too. That I just wanted to say thank you for, before taking it to the now, putting duration in front of that, because it helps to open up the now for me. And I never looked at it that way. And it made it a lot easier in this discussion.
I went through that too.
When
Rather
you
than go ahead.
Yeah, it opened up like the intuitive part of my mind rather than just that, sequential brain mind kind of thing. When you jump from, time to the now, it's like when you put duration there in front of it, somehow it allowed for that intuitive part of myself to catch up, and it helped open up the now into, the now, rather than like the brain mind function of it. So that was helpful to me in this.
Well, what that brings forward,
quick.
Hang on a second. I want you to think about something.
Okay.
Your love of freedom, which you expressed. I mean, if Seb tried to take away freedom from you, you'd put the sword to it, because that's what we do to those bastards. But the nature of the resolution to this, is vital, because that's where the world is right now. That's where humanity is. How are we going to resolve that dinner party that Seb's at, where the diversity, equity people are arguing how important and vital that is to humanity, that we have diversity and equity, as if we didn't. See, we do already. We do, because love itself can't operate with anything else. It doesn't have anything less than equality. It doesn't have any less than that recognition of the sacredness of every single thing. Mm-hmm. But it's not being demonstrated by humanity the way it could be, the way love does it. But you don't get that by forcing it on people, because to do that, you override their free will. And it's only by the instrument of free will that you will become that you will choose that. Now, Seb, to his credit, he may not have the same passion for free will that you do. He may not rush to the revolutionary wall like Les Miserables and grab a musket and jump up on the top. He may not do that in his passion for free will, but that's because he doesn't necessarily need that. He already has absorbed the meaning of free will and is now trying to harmonize it with unity. It's a different lesson. Mm-hmm. It's a lesson of yes, that's important, but it has to be harmonized properly with love. And so he's sitting at the dinner table. These people aren't stupid. I know is some of his ilk that he hangs out with, and they're okay. But this passion in them for this equity, diversity outcome is stronger. It's stronger than their realization. And many of them are spoiled little aristocratic pricks that have been silver spooned from the time, they don't think of it, but they have been. They've been silver spooned from the time they were born, because they never had to make a hard decision at a young age. I made hard decisions at a young age because I grew up in Alaska in logging camps, and you're by yourself a lot of times, and you got to decide how to get your own damn foot out of a bear trap, because nobody's going to come and find you. So when you get caught in something, or you make a mistake, or you're out there struggling to survive against something that you got yourself into, you have to use free will to get out. And by repeatedly doing that, I mean, really repeatedly doing stupid things and then having to get out of it, hanging on the side of a cliff somewhere, and you're thinking, how in the hell did I get out here? What am I doing out here with nothing between me and death but my fingertips? And then you realize nobody knows you're there. Nobody sees you. Nobody's coming. Daddy's not going to come. And so you struggle and hang out and cling and you grit and grunt and pray and do all that shit, and you finally get out of it. Or you become one of the dead. And you know it. So you make it happen. And so pretty soon you develop slowly this passion for strength, for self-reliance. And if you go back to Emerson and look at Emerson's compensation and self-reliance, you'll see the spirit of this, where you just realized, if I didn't have this, I never would have survived. Like a cockroach, I just became adaptable and I made my way through it. Now, that's just our lesson. And we love the freedom that was in us that gave us the strength to make these choices. And other people who haven't had the opportunity to get the shit kicked out of them by nature, by life, by the guys down at the roadhouse, by every other damn thing, they don't necessarily know that lesson yet. They will. They have to learn all the lessons, or you're not going to reunite spirit and matter in yourself. Every lesson must be learned from both sides. So Seb may have already passed that bar. We don't know. We can't do an autopsy on him and cut him open and see if he has the free will organ developed in there sufficiently. We don't know. So I do. I mean, I know because I can look inside of him and see what's going on in there pretty much. But because it's not inflamed, because it's not heated up, because it's not constantly being defended as if your free will needed to be defended, then he may not notice it. He may not even know he has it or even needs it until such time as someone tries to take it away from him. Then you might find a different kind of character in him. And this happens to a lot of people. When someone comes up to them and says, "Excuse me, I'm going to take away your free will." Then they look up and blink and they go, "Wait a minute, hold on a minute." No, I don't think so. I think I want that. You know, so then we suddenly find ourselves summoning up something in us. Because the other side of that free will is what you do with it. Now, if you use it to bring the love aspect into balance with the effect aspect of matter, which it's causing, love is causing anything in matter that is going on. This is one of the hardest lessons for humans to learn. Nothing, absolutely zero, is being caused in the material world by the material world. It's not there. It doesn't exist there. And that's just not, that can't be real. The volcano's going off. So it must be being caused by things in the material world. The effects of something in another world are showing up in the material world, and that's causing the volcano to go off. So once you see that world, that's obvious. Then it's obvious to you, instantly obvious. You look at it and go, "Oh, hell, that's where this is all coming from." And that's the world of love. So how can the world of love be creating a volcano in Mauna Loa? What's going on there? How is love making that thing erupt? That's a wonderful question and a fabulous answer, because it's a simultaneous, eternally now event. It's love is acting at this second, and that response to that love is shooting lava 200 feet in the air. That's fabulous. That's a wonderful realization, because it's true for you too. Love's going off in you and causing you to do the best things you're doing all day long, if anything. And so I'm just giving you the option. So that's a fabulous truth, but it's scary truth, because it takes time out of the equation. Love doesn't spend time rehearsing. It doesn't spend any time considering the outcome of its possibilities. It doesn't take the best choice. It doesn't think its way through. You can think it does, because you do. If I were love, I would decide what's the greatest good for the greatest number, and that's what I would do. But you see, love itself doesn't do that. We do that because we have a material component. Without that material component, you don't have any reason to do it. And you don't have any reason to do that with your material component except because of free will. You need free will to decide what the greatest good for the greatest number is. And that's only true because you're in matter. You can't live somewhere else. You're here. And this is why the Buddhists want to get the hell out of here. They don't want to be caught in this fucked up place because all of this matter's uncontrollable. It doesn't respond well. It does all kinds of things. So you have to make constant choices. If I get this Buddhic thing going and balance my karma, I can lift off from this place and I can exist at nirvana, which is up there on several levels above where we are consciously. And I don't have those choices to make. Why? Why don't you have those choices to make? Because love rules everything. And I can live in automatic response to that unfolding perfection. And that's lovely, like a permanent vacation, right?
Something that stays with me a lot, Dan, that I think is relevant to, all these things happening in the world that could be looked at as negative, is that answer that came to you from that girl who asked,
why do good things happen to bad? Yeah. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Exactly.
Michaela. Sure.
And that, I don't know if this is a direct quote, but it was, perfection to love in the shortest amount of time. Was it that, or was it slightly different?
For the perfection of love.
Thank you. Yeah.
In the shortest possible time.
Yes.
And that relates back to the Christ consciousness, this presence that decided to enter humanity's problem. See, love's already on the nirvanic plane. It already lives there and lives on every other plane, in the higher planes and planes that we don't even know about it. And it exists in life as life outside of the cosmic physical universe, observing the whole thing. So love is not really very limited. But yet, in its limitation, in its unlimitedness, it looked at Earth and said, I'm making a choice here. I'm going to enter this human being, this one human being, at this particular moment, and I'm going to take on its life as my life. I'm going to take on all of the suffering of this individual and of his people, meaning eventually the whole human race. So I'm going to take on the suffering because the human kingdom was in a problem that it could not solve of its own nature. And it was up against great forces and energies that were making it difficult for it because we were not conscious of love. If you're not if you're a self-conscious, aware human being, which everyone is, you are, and you can think. And you have free will, and you can choose within limitations. And yet you aren't conscious of love. That's a horrifying state to be in because your essence is love. So you have it in you. You have a soul. You have a spirit. And that's what gives you everything that makes sense of good. And yet you can't empower yourself with it. You can, but you don't know how. Humanity doesn't know how. And the forces ranking against you are trying to take that ability to realize that away from you and make you a slave to the material entity, which doesn't care about love at all. And so looking at that group of beings, that kingdom, that human kingdom, you realize, oh, they're screwed. They're screwed because they've screwed themselves into a material condition where they can't even remember that they are gods, that they have a relationship to beings far greater than themselves. They've wiped all that out of their consciousness. There's nothing real for these people except material existence, hard material existence. Their scientists demand it. Nobody else will let anything else in. Their religions have become dust and dirt. under their feet because nothing's real in them anymore. It's a serious problem we are in. And so that quality of life knew that, saw that, and said, all right, how will I do this without screwing up the one thing that we have? What do we have? We have one thing going for us, which is the result of our problem: free will. We have free will. So I need to help them, but I need to not violate their free will. Well, that's a problem because we're choosing our way down the path of perdition into oblivion as fast as our senses can actually give it to us. Give me some more of that. Give me some fentanyl. Anybody got any fentanyl? So we're looking at how we are self-destructing of our own desires and our own senses, but they aren't really ours, are they? They're the senses and desires of matter through the animal nature. If you give your dog sugar every day, pretty soon it really wants that candy bar. It loves sugar because it has no way to evaluate the destruction that sugar might bring to it. So we're an animal. We're living in an animal, and we're subject to its appetites, subject to what pleases its sensation of taste and pleasure and gratification. So all of that's our struggle. And that's why this whole religious good and bad and all that come about. But it doesn't matter. The point is, how are you going to get out of it? There's only one way out: free will. You have to choose your way out. That's what the whole story is about. Are you going to choose your way out or choose your way further in? Well, it's a horrifying problem even for life because you are an eternal being. So if you choose your way further in, you're tying down greater forces than you realize because you're a problem to be dealt with. You're going to go deeper and deeper into the madness of material existence and forget more and more about your own free will, about God, about life, about love, about anything of a higher frequency, and you're just going to become a troll down in the depths of the mind, scrubbing away for some material entity. Well, that could go on for a long, long time. I mean, a long, long time. And the rest of the universe is going to eventually feel the pain of that thorn in its paw, even in some far off galaxy, because it's a big throbbing thing. So love itself, somehow reviewing all of this in its body of nature, said, there's only one thing. I've got to join them. Now that's an stupendous and incredible idea. I admit that that's a fantastic idea, totally off the scale. I'm like, but I like fantastic, stupid ideas, totally off the scale. But then when I look at Jesus, I realize he did it. That's exactly what he did. He walked up to John. He didn't know he was going to be taking on this. He walked up and said, I'm in, baptize me. And they knew they were looking for some extraordinary event to save their people, being Jewish, and that was going to be somebody who was going to throw off the yoke of the Romans, throw off the madness of Herod, throw off the imprisoning attitudes of the religious leaders, because all of that was pushing down on the Jewish people, their own religion, a debauched king, and the Romans. And there's always the lovely Romans. So he shows up at John's baptism and says, baptize me. And at that moment, something far greater happened than anybody expected, including them. Although I think Jesus had the biggest idea that this was going to be something pretty earth-shaking. But love itself, the actual entity of life that is that, joins the party. Like death takes a holiday, like that Meet Joe Black movie that Brad Pitt did. It's like suddenly death is walking around at the party with you, having a cocktail. And you think, what the hell are you doing here? Well, you needed some help, so I joined you to see what we can do about it. But I can't violate your free will, and I will not do that, or anyone else's. So we see how that plays itself out in the miracles of Jesus. Nobody can violate some free will, but everybody can have faith that something fantastic could join them and make something work better than it otherwise would. from the water into wine, to the healing of all these people, to raising Lazarus from the dead, to the crucifixion. And if the crucifixion had not happened the way it did, then this presence that had joined Jesus would not have spread throughout the entire human kingdom. But it did. So now you and I and everyone else on earth, this is not a religious text. This is just a fact of nature. This is physics. Because it's all living and it's always been living. And there are greater lives from experience and attributes, and there are lesser lives that haven't had that much experience. So when a great life decides to join a lesser life to help it out of a mud hole, that's always a good thing. And this is the ultimate mud hole. We are in the ultimate goddamn problem anything can get into. And so, but we have a heart, and we have love in us, and we have spirit in us. So that which is heart and love and spirit found a way to join and say, okay, let me help you out of this. But I can't do it for you. And that's part of the religious mystery that got screwed up. Christ doesn't show up to take away our choices of free will. He shows up to show you what you could do with it if you choose, in the form of this one guy choosing it. Jesus stuck with it. He chose it. He said, I recognize you. I choose it. I surrender to it. I'm in.
And it never left. I think it's important to note that it never left.
No. And by his choosing all the way to the cross, I'll choose it even if it causes me my life. I will choose your presence with me. That's a profound commitment and a profound faith in the value of that presence in him and its eventual strength. Beyond his death, he thought, somehow he figured this out in himself, probably in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he decided, even if they kill me, they can't kill that. And if they kill me, that will become even more powerful. Somehow he figured that equation out and sacrificed his own life to that. Otherwise, he could have beat it down to the Red Sea and set up a little camp down there and minded his own business. But he didn't. He said to them, do what you will. Do what you will. I'm not going to forsake this for humanity because it needs it. It needs it greater than I need a vacation down at the Red Sea, which would really be nice right now, no doubt about it. But that's a hard choice. That's a tough choice. But that's a human choice. That's not God's choice. That's a human choice. That's a free will choice. And I stick with that. That's why freedom is important to Taylor, and it's important to me. I don't know why it's important to you, Seb, because, I didn't mean to take away your free will. You have your own version of it. You have your own idea of all of that. But I have a passion for that. Huh?
Freedom's very important.
Yeah, well, it got you where you are, which is in the middle of America, and not figuring out what the hell am I doing here, which is great, because we can make something out of that, I think, and we're doing that. But because I think that in this issue of the eternal now, the eternal now is the only place love is. It's not in the past. Demonstrations of it in the past leave a memory, but the past doesn't exist. It's as dead as 10,000 years ago, 50,000, million. What exists is what's going on in the eternal now continuously, that has been going on for 50,000 years. That's where we live. That's where eternal life lives. You're not eternal because God said we're going to let Seb live forever. The little bastard's kind of useless, but we'll let him grow up. There's nobody making those kind of decisions. You're eternal because you're a piece of life. And life in the eternal now lives in the eternal now forever. That's its constant state of existence. And you can't kill the damn thing because it can go in and out of incarnation. You can drive it out of incarnation cosmically. The whole cosmic universe can be gone and will be and was. And in the biblical 7 days is just an explanation of how it came into being this time. There was nothing. the rootless root, the causeless cause, something out there way beyond cosmic physical existence, joined. Taylor just bailed on it. She's so fickle. You say one little thing and that's it. She's gone. But the point is that comes into existence as a result of something choosing to come into existence. And that same something going out of that physical demonstration of existence doesn't end it. It only ends that existence. But we go with it because we came with it. And it's like, oh, okay, so what? We're endless then? Yes, that's effectively the case. As endless as life is. And if life wants to continue on, it will. And we're going with it. Regardless of the place you happen to be located at any given moment. And that's true of the physical world, and it's true of the worlds above it and within it and deeper. Because the cosmic physical universe in which all this is going on has many levels that reflect levels that are in life itself outside of it. In other words, our Buddhic plane, our spiritual plane, the kingdom of God, the Atmic plane, the monadic plane, all these planes that the Buddhists have, the Hindus have, others have, the seventh heaven of the Christians, all of these other levels beyond the cosmic physical level, the dense level that we're in with matter, this stuff. All the levels above that are simply reflections in matter, in substance, of existences outside of it. So it's just a fantastic game we're in. Fabulous, fabulous freaking thing. And on Earth right now, we're looking at whether we're going to incorporate love, which is causing all of those volcanoes and everything else, your daily life, and diversity, equity issues, whether that's going to come into the world and effectively blend with our free will and bring it into harmony. Harmony with itself, harmony with love, harmony with matter. Are we going to make it a unity that works? And that's what you're having the discussion at the table with your friends with. They're saying, well, I like this diversity, equity thing, and I think we should do it. Yeah, you do it. You yourself do it.
Yeah.
Don't try to tell someone else to do it to their children.
Yeah.
Which is what the school systems did, which is what the government did at the behest of somebody who told them to. And why? Was it a vote? Did we take a democratic vote on it? And if you took a democratic vote on it, the majority of and you think because you elect a president of a United States that you give him the right to upend all the laws of nature? No, he doesn't have that much right. Oh, so Taylor just informed us that due to her gross incompetence, her computer ran out of power. I do this all the time with my phone. In fact, it reminds me I may or better play. I'm 40%, so we're good. I can outlast all of you. Maybe. So she plugged in, and when she's back up, she'll rejoin us. So do you see how all of this kind of comes together, Seb?
Yeah, I do.
You see how it is dinner conversation that you can't bring those people to see? How difficult is it for them to see all of what we're talking about?
Well, I think I made similar to points to you.
Did you plead love's case? Did you plead free will's case? Did you plead the free will of love? See, free will is all our personalities have. We're shallow pieces of crap. We don't have the power of love in us because we've not matured sufficiently to make it just because we love someone emotionally. You love your dogs, and you got a third of a dog, right?
Yeah.
So you love that third of a dog. I mean, you would go for a long hike in the woods looking for that dog if you lost it. You would do things. You care about the freaking dog. But the power that's inherent in love to cause all things possible, that's not a myth. That's a power love possesses. You don't have that power. Well, you have it, but you don't know how to activate it. You don't know how to do the magical words. You don't know what it takes. So you live without it. You hope you find the dog before darkfall because the coyotes will eat him or something. So you do the best you can. We all do. We will sacrifice our own lives
But I
to
do try
save
to give it
someone.
space to join the situation. I did try to allow for love to join the party and for me to serve that best I can, rather than just Seb taking the lead in that. Now I don't know how well I do that, but
Well, look, if you're trying to do that at all, and I'll describe what you're talking about just for a second so people can see what that means. Now you're doing two things at once, which most people can't do, by the way. You're walking and chewing gum at the same time. And that's because you're a little more grown up than the average toadstool. You're trying to hold a intellectual conversation of understanding the difference between imposing will on others and letting others come to it of their own free will and deciding how this works. Even though it's a good thing, equity is a good thing, it means nothing if it isn't come to by people of their own free will. And how that works, that's an intellectual understanding. That, and simultaneously, you are striving to hold the nature of yourself in the soul kingdom as love, as a big pile of love up there organizing itself into some kind of a soul being, which you don't know much about, how many petals it has, how unfolded each of those petals is, what the jewel of the lotus in the center of it is doing, how well you're integrating all of your previous lifetimes into one single higher. All of that is totally unknown to you. Not totally, but so close to total that it's probably what percentage of total understanding there would you say you had?
very, very minimal.
Exactly. That's what all of us have. I know a lot about it, but you can read Alice Bailey, Blavatsky, you can read the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's. It doesn't matter. We're still never going to get the meter off the peg. The only way we're going to really make ground in that territory is to enter it, open your inner senses to it, and go, holy crap, look at that. And then you'll discover you get it. You get why it looks that way. You get what's going on here. And when you don't know, you turn to this creature next to you that looks really strange, and you go, what's that? And it'll say, well, that's you. And you go, that's me? Yeah, that's you. But that can't be me. I'm that guy down there. And you go, yeah, you're that too. So all of that is something we have to look forward to. And when we and the blending of that fantastic creature that is your own higher self, your own soul nature, the blending of that with Seb is one of the fabulous experiences that we all have coming towards us. And it doesn't take Seb away. It doesn't destroy Seb. As they say, it's like holding a match up to the sun. The match seems to disappear even though it's burning because the sun is so bright behind it, but it's still there. More than that, it's charged with this incredible presence that is now becoming your presence, and you're being both of them integrated into one being, and it's like, holy mackerel, this is fantastic. And that's what's really waiting for us. But if you think it's going to blow out the match, that's it for Seb, then you hold it away. We're afraid of it. And I can't promise you what will happen to Seb when he beholds the magnificence of his own higher nature. That's your moment to face. And I honestly don't know what will happen to Seb. So in the end, it's on you. Now you can meet the Christ and he will tell you it's going to be okay. I'm your buddy. I'll stick with you. I will walk you through because I've been through it myself. And so have my friends. Then you can have more confidence in it. You can't have much confidence in me. We're like two tourists in Barbados going down a dark alley. We can't, all we've got is each other. And so we don't know, but I'll take the journey with you. I'll walk down the street because that's where I'm going. I'm already on that journey and it's fine with me.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's roll this up because I think that's as much as we can do, and we don't want to force Taylor to come back and carry on and all.
Well, I'd like to just expand a little bit of what I spoke about at the table to at least, I don't think I convinced anyone of anything, which was also not my intention, but I felt it settle down because when the conversation gets very intellectual, I feel it's very strong. And first I started to explain that, that you can't impose these things on other people, as you said. And I was saying how, you know, the change has to come from within us. And they kind of accepted that point, but it was still very much here. And then I sort of wanted love to kind of join me in that thing. And what came to me was my favorite example, which was Gandhi, who I think offered a beautiful thing, both as what he did and achieved, but as the example of what can be done by one person. And I said, you know, Gandhi achieved an incredible thing. There was an oppressive force on India that was taking India, you know, British will and placing it on top of India and the Indian people. And I said, you know, and that was wrong. But he didn't choose to then fight back and use his will to rally up all of his people to overpower the British and take him out. He chose the path of love, which meant he simultaneously chose the outcome for his people, the Indian people, and for the British. And he chose a peaceful path and held that so strongly that people followed him until that outcome came. And by not trying to impose something, but offering a choice of love simultaneously for the Indian people and for the British people, just evoked this great change. And he accomplished the impossible. You know, the British left without
He did accomplish the impossible.
He did.
And it's exactly, you've said it exactly right. Now, he chose the outcome that's best for them, both of them. And so there was no power against that, because it was what the British actually wanted themselves in their heart. The British Empire loves the heart of the noble king. They like King Arthur more than they like Henry VIII.
Yeah.
They don't want a dark-hearted king. They want to be good rulership in the end. And I'm not sure that might necessarily would have worked with Hitler, because Hitler had a stone commitment to a different kind of process, and it would have made it more, I'm not saying it wouldn't, it would have made it more difficult. It would have made it more challenging. But if Hitler had been the British, he wouldn't have been probably alive at this point in the game anyway. Because if there's one thing that the Nazis were, it was thorough about extinguishing opportunities for light, and which is why it was important that they didn't win that war, because then they would have extinguished the light of freedom. You can't kill free will, but they can extinguish the light of it in the mind of humanity by eradicating it, education-wise, in every culture in the world. And the Japanese would have gone along with it as co-winners of the war, but it didn't happen that way. Yeah. And it, for fortunate reasons. Now, I agree with you. Now, the question is do your friends at the dinner table agree? Because this is a supreme moment in humanity when the division between the right choice and the other choice are abundantly clear. All of your friends, I give them enough credit to say that if the choice were clear to them of what they're choosing, would agree with you and say, okay, we're not going to surrender our love of diversity, our love of equity, our love of everybody being equal, but we're going to let everyone come to it through free will. And we're going to join you in that second thing you were doing, which is holding the intensity of love present in yourself, in your consciousness, in your heart, while you live. That's how you empower yourself with it. And let the impact of that call love into the hearts of others so that they can join us in that choice, to acknowledge free will and acknowledge love, and let it bind themselves together in the heart of a person to release that radiance that comes from purpose and love fused in unity, because they have to be fused in unity. And the purpose of the Christ coming back into the world again, which is happening as we speak, is that you have an individual who has fused the will of that being that is life. He went and got it and supplanted his own personal will with it, so that the will to harmony and unity is the will. That's the purpose of it all in the end, to bring the whole universe into harmony and unity with love. And when that happens, then free will can be released, because it will be always serving love. It will always be serving intelligence, and it will always be serving willingness. So then willingness, love, and intelligence become your base power of creation. And now you can be turned loose as a second-class creator or something in the universe and graduate up to another level. See, life is doing something, and it's doing something real, and we are participating in that reality, and we are growing towards life in it. And love is the next step, and humanity was given a leg up with that step. And now the question is, will we take that leg up of our own free will, or reject it out of the passion to be served by material satisfaction? Will we scroll our way down the rabbit hole of madness? Yeah. And that doesn't make anything wrong with technology. That just simply says, I want it to serve a higher purpose, the purpose of love and the purpose of the universe, the purpose of life itself, because I am life itself, and I don't want to violate life's purpose, life's root purpose, which obviously has something to do with learning love, or it wouldn't be the lesson that's here, and it wouldn't be this much effort and suffering to get that lesson. So take the lesson. Why not? It's here, it's free, and it gives you great power. Power to give yourself the things that really matter. Give your children a safe education. Give your family the needs, that supply the needs to your family that it needs for a happy, joyful life. That's what love can do. It has the creative power to give those things. It really does. And you have the power to be in harmony with that gift and to receive it. So, and it isn't because God's favoring us over someone else or anything like that. That's not even in the equation.
No.
That's in the imagination of man and needs to be cleared out with a lot of other disbeliefs that are just faulty and screwed up. All right. Is that enough of this? Because we're going to wear out anyone who had the courage to listen to this place in the conversation has definitely got their eyes crossed, probably.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Until next time. Thank you, Dan.
Right, push that button. Good night, Taylor, wherever you are. See you later.
Don't you wanna know?